Welcome everyone, and now calling this meeting to order. Please stand with us to be led in prayer by Alderman Gallagher. After that, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Alderman Payne.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here yet again. Lord, we thank you for the wisdom that you've given us and knowledge that you've given us to help us make our city better than it's ever been, Lord. I pray that you be with us again tonight, Lord, and just grace us with your wisdom, Lord, and watch over our city as we go through this special time of year where we celebrate your birth. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda this evening is get approval of the minutes for two meetings. One was the regular meeting on November 16 of 21, and the other one was on a special meeting on December 2nd of 21.
Second.
We got a motion by Alderman Hoots, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jeremy.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a professional services contract with Mid-South Sports Productions. Mr. Nick Manley, City Attorney.
Yeah, this contract is, as the mayor said, with Mid-South Sports Productions Inc. It's for continuing to run the tournaments and promoting the tournaments at Stone Grove with the company is also Scotty Baker's company. It's the same contract we've had in place for the last couple of years, so this will continue that relationship with Mid-South Sports Productions Inc. So tonight, the authorization for the mayor to sign the contract with Mid-South Sports Productions.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jeremy.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for Mississippi local government opioid litigation memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, this resolution approves the MOU for the settlement agreement with the Mississippi opioid litigation. As you recall, Southaven did not participate in this litigation. However, as part of the settlement agreement, for cities that have a population over $10,000, we are included in the actual settlement agreement and settlement process as the pharma companies and distributors don't want any further litigation after the release and MOU had been signed. Even though we didn't participate in the litigation, we still are part of the settlement process. And so tonight, authorization for the mayor to sign the MOU for the local government opioid litigation, and we'll receive around $476,000 paid over 18 years. So it would be around $26,440 per year as part of the settlement, which, like I said, we didn't participate, but it's one of the benefits, I guess, that we would receive from that. It's also, the settlement's also contingent upon every city signing it and agreeing to this. It must be done by January 2nd, so tonight is presented for your review and approval.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a contract involving the Southaven Police Department with Pitney Bowes.
Yeah, this contract is just for the stamps or postage machine Pitney Bowes. It's a standard contract used by the state of Mississippi. It's the same contract that we've used in the past with Pitney Bowes. So tonight, authorization for either mayor or chief of Moore to sign with Pitney Bowes for this postage machine for the Southaven Police Department.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Hoots, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Gordon.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is bid acceptance for bankless amphitheater improvements. We have Mr. Brian Bullard with us with Urban Art, who oversaw the bid process and actually did the design for the enhancements. So we'll let him walk us through the lowest bid and the alternates and make his recommendation. How you doing,
Thanks,
sir?
Mr. Mayor. Good evening. On November 18th, we opened bids. We had 3 bidders on the amphitheater improvements project. And tallying those bids, we came to the conclusion that our lowest and best bid was that of Murphy and Sons Construction, or Murphy and Sons Incorporated here in Southaven, Mississippi. They submitted a base bid price of $6,161,475. That base bid was almost $2 million lower than the next base bid price, so we're getting a really good price there. We also, just based on y'all's recommendations and our conversations throughout the design process, we gave you many alternates. We actually designed several additional buildings over and beyond the base bid price, just so that you would have an ability to scale your funds and scale the project to your needs and to your budget. So with that said, Murphy and Sons' max bid price was $9,894,039, and that included almost all of the alternates. So you have essentially everything you want to complete your master plan for that price, or you can scale it down all the way down to the base bid price, and you can accept any of those at this point in time. Our recommendation, you guys can choose the scope and the alternates that you wish, but our recommendation would be to obviously complete as much of it at this time as you can, just due to what we call economy of scale with pricing. So the more you do now, the better. And if you want to complete other items later, we can do that, but they'll be, each one of those individual components would be more expensive to build later. So, do you all have any questions about what's in the bid, what alternates we have, et cetera?
One person I had on, he said almost all of the
Right, thanks, Raymond. We had 2 alternates that were kind of an either-or situation. Our alternate number 1 was a new permanent merchandise sales building, and it also included a dining facility on the backside, kind of a little cafeteria room for the folks that are backing house at the shows. So that was alternate number 1. Alternate number 2, because we knew that alternate number 1, we may be stretching our budget, so one idea came up that possibly we could do an addition to the existing dressing room building with a more simple, just a freestanding cafeteria building, or cafeteria dining area on the side of the dressing room building. It would be on the north side of the dressing room building. Simple way to do that is to basically leave over on the concourse side, or on the entry plaza side, you would have a simple open canopy top that they could use for merchandising over there, and then you would have the addition to the dressing room building as for your back of house dining facility. Whereas alternate number 1 is those 2 things combined in one new building over on the plaza side.
Which one was the more expensive alternate?
The more expensive alternate is alternate number 1, the new permanent merchandising sales and the full building over on the plaza side. And that alternate was $678,500.
That's part of the 9 million.
That is part of the $9 million, yes.
Total cost of the project?
If you accepted the alternates 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, excluding 2, which was the lesser expensive option, but probably the lesser ideal option as well, to add the dining option to the side of the dressing room building, your total would be $9,894,039.
just some input on that since the last discussion. Reached out to, concert promoter and others about those options 1 and 2. And again, like Brian said, the reason we did it both ways, just, for budget concerns. But everyone does believe that the option 1 is the better option. We have some concerns like where the existing dressing room is now, attaching it there, the space is kind of tight up to the back of the amphitheater, and we feel like it may be more convenient for the artists to have a separate place for them to go eat. That way you're not mixing backstage crew with them, all trying to get in a small little place. So they do believe that having the freestanding cafe, which is, shown in option, alternate 1, is the best. That's what they believe.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to accept the Main Plus Amphitheater bid with options 1, 3, and 4.
For all options.
All options.
So,
Excluding 2.
okay, all alternates excluding alternate 2, is that correct?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the lowest bid from Murphy and Sons with all alternates except alternate 2, which is a total amount of $9,894,039. That is your motion, Alderman Wheeler. And then we have a second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next on the agenda is an amendment to our employee handbook. Mr. Nick Manley again?
Yeah, this amendment, drafted by Melanie, and it was just basically closing loopholes in our amendment, to our handbook, but it was basically revises our drug and alcohol policy by noting the language, or by revising language that reporting of work or consuming is violation, making provision for prescription drugs, and then noting that failure to provide an adequate sample for the drug test is considered a refusal to submit. So these, as you noted before, Melanie's been reviewing our employee handbook and revising what we need to have in there from perspective of employee and from a legal standpoint. So tonight, we bring this to you for approval and acceptance in the handbook, and obviously any questions, Melanie's here as well to answer those.
We have a motion by Alderman Hoots, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? And again, most of this is not adding a whole lot of material difference, just bringing it, making it more comprehensive for other types of substances that could be used in the workplace. And the testing, how we test. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for budget amendment.
Yeah, this budget amendment basically just accounts for the money that was budgeted in FY '21 for the Star Landing Road water project and the AMR project, and just transfers it to FY '22 to fund the remainder of those projects. So it's no new money or no additional money required. It's just a transfer of money from one budget year to the next to fund projects that have originally budgeted for the previous year.
I'll make that motion. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a bid award for chemicals for our utilities department.
The utility department went for bids for water chemicals based on the contract. We couldn't renew it under the previous contract due to pricing terms, so we had to rebid it. There was one bid, and it was Ideal Chemical, so just need authorization for Ray Humphrey to sign any and all contracts with Ideal Chemical and accept the bid from them for those water chemicals as bid last week.
So moved.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution appointing private property.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution granting authority to claim private property as presented on the state.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Is there any discussion with anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in any of the properties? Hearing or seeing none, roll call please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook.
Yes, what we have on the application tonight is for subdivision approval for the new Neurology subdivision. This is going to be on the east side of Airways Boulevard, south of State Line Road. What you see highlighted in red there, that actually has an eastern boundary up against Greenbrook Lake. It is zoned to office, and the applicant is requesting to subdivide it into 3 separate lots. Total of 4.771 acres, and the lots range in size from approximately 1 acre up to a little over 2 acres. Some stipulations that were placed on the subdivision would be shared access points, so we don't have several access curb cuts going up and down Airways Boulevard. So we will do a shared access point at both of the interior lot lines, and then we do have a request for a 60-foot no disturb buffer line on the back side of it to protect that lake boundary. One with trees, 2 with erosion control measures. It was all agreed upon at the planning commission level, and we voted unanimously in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item number 1 on the planning agenda as presented.
Second.
On item 1, we have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Item number 2 is a request for design review approval for a new office building, which will be on the southeast corner of Clarington Road and Airways Boulevard. Currently, MOGA is in the Pinnacle Center at the corner of Rasco and Airways. They are wanting to incorporate their own single-tenant structure. You'll see renderings that were placed on the proposal, which has several different materials on it. Everybody at the planning commission was okay with a couple of stipulations that we need to address tonight. Basically, there was a lot of stacked stone. They wanted to pull that back and diversify the product a little bit more, so that wood cladding was added, and an increase in height for some window lines on the south corner was added. They did concede to that. The one issue, the main issue that we had was concerning the wainscot area, which is your bottom 3.5 to 4 foot around the whole bottom of the building. It has been policy in our design review manual for years to actually use a masonry material, simply due to mold, wet, the dampness of the soils and things like that. So they don't like to see exposed metal to the ground or masonry materials such as that. This building right now has some portions that have metal. It's a decorative metal, but nonetheless it's a metal all the way to the ground. So the discussion at the planning commission level was that they did see that aesthetically it was nice, but they didn't want to vary off of our standards. And as I explained to them, I love the building, I think it's attractive, but I have to be able to defend this variance if the next person comes in with the same type building. I did get a summary justification of the request from Brian Morris, who is out in the audience. I did not have time to get it to you, it was given to me today. So he would like to come up and kind of pose a request to allow this and get an appeal to that decision from the planning commission.
Come forward, please.
Thank you all. As Whitney stated in the DRB meeting, it was kind of seen as a positive building aesthetic. And so the northwest elevation you've seen there shows a metal panel going to the ground. None of the design review board was really excited about putting just a stone base down there, as that was kind of counterintuitive to their comment of reducing stone on the on the design. So I went back and discussed with Whitney and just said, hey, I'd like to ask for a variance to see if we thought we're providing a creative enough solution ultimately for longevity and durability. So anywhere you see the metal panel in that back portion of the building has a concrete curb that would be below it. So that would help to mitigate any concerns over water intrusion, mold, rust, things like that. So the metal panel is actually built off the ground by about 6 inches. And then also, just as a counter argument, a fiber cement panel is allowed per the design guidelines. So we could switch this out to be a fiber cement, but ultimately, we think, and I think the DRB would also agree, that's going to a lesser material than what we proposed here. This is a concealed metal fastener, have a concrete curb detail for water intrusion, things like that. So again, asking for a variance to accept where that small amount of metal panel is going down to the ground in the rear of the building. Your Airways Boulevard side has the stack stone base, as does the adjacent corner, which is also facing Airways, and then the rear side, which is facing the future property, has stone all the way to the ground as well.
You okay with it?
Like I said, this is my argument with it. Do I find it an attractive building? Yes. Normally we don't allow to expose metal, but the metal code uses a decorative material. Technology and materials change year to year, so our standard of having a masonry material is still on the books. What I have to be able to do, as I say before, is defend it against the next person coming in that may not have as attractive of a building, maybe a prefab metal building, and we tell them to put the wainscot down, and they say, well, Moga didn't, and I've got to have that defense. That's the only thing that concerns me. It's not that I don't like the building, but I have to stay consistent. So I think what Ryan was trying to put forth was that the metal that is showing there, although it is not a masonry material, it does provide an airtight, water-sealed type design, which would be conducive to what concerns we had on the material. And again, I agree with a lot of that. My point is I just have to be able to argue the point to the next person.
What would you suggest that they do?
We looked at it, and I was one of the main complainers of all the stacked stone. I think it's overused on a lot of buildings, but I think this one had an abundance of it, so they certainly broke it up. I do think if we brought something in like a brick or a split face block, it will deter some of the modern look of the building, which makes it so attractive. There may be another material that I'm not aware of that we could bring in that would kind of just flow into the metal that would produce the look as well as the compliance we're looking for. And that's something that I think Ryan's looking at too in case this doesn't follow through like this. But in terms of just looking at some of the standard materials we got, I don't know that there's one out there that just wouldn't over diversify the product.
So you don't like so much stacked stone, but you would like a brick, is that what you're
Well, there's different materials. You can do split face textured block, you can do the fiber cement panels, you can do brick, you can do, there's all kinds of materials that qualify as a masonry material. It's just a matter of finding one that flows into this.
So what's the more expensive option?
I would, what do you think, Sonny? I don't know
Is
material
the more
costs for
expensive option
young.
versus the one that we have on the books now?
I mean, it's probably comparable, use metal panel versus brick at this scale, it's probably equal. We could go to something like a fiber cement, which would be cheapening the product, which ultimately I don't think that's the design intent, as you go with a lesser product. So when we're going in with a pre-finished product, maintenance free, and again, we're putting that concrete curb detail in there so to eliminate any concerns of water intrusion or anything like that, where it comes down to the ground. And, just reading through the design, comments or the guidelines, Urban Art feels like this is in spirit with what y'all are trying to prevent, pre-engineering metal buildings. So just because a metal panel going into the ground has always been, prohibited, I don't think this building is the target of what you all been trying to stop with your guidelines.
And I totally agree with that, but again, and I hate to keep reiterating this because I know this is against him, I just have to be able to argue it to the next person that may feel they have an attractive building. So I feel like I can't base it on an opinion type on, I think this one's attractive, this one's not, dress this one up, don't dress this one up. That's my only concern, but I see where he's coming from at the same time.
This is different from prefab on the
It is, but, the design manuals, they got, they're a little antiquated because So they,
Come before this body, that's a pretty fat metal building versus this.
well, it's not necessarily prefab, it's metal material to the ground versus non-metal materials.
If you're going to the ground, you got a 6-inch curve.
Well, so everywhere the metal is located there is on sidewalk, so we're already, minimizing it up against grass or sod in that area. And anywhere where it's on the side, it has a stone base down below it, so then it's just set on a 6-inch curve. The metal panel goes past the curve, it'll again give you a watertight detail right there, and it allows for a better longevity. So I would make the counter argument, we put some things in place that probably aren't typically being proposed to be installed on your metal that's going to the ground. So again, using a nicer metal panel in general, and then detailing it in a way that we feel confident, would have longevity and not be a concern for ultimately the owners and you all, the city.
What's behind it now? Is that the actual, or is it a veneer over?
No, I mean, that'd be the substrate, so,
The actual structure, and then come back on.
technically, your furring strips and then your,
What about you guys, let's just take this today and take it back and see if I can come to some kind of agreement. I mean, I don't want to create an environment where you may have potential problems down the road with the animal books. Let's see if we can't work it out.
Well, I don't think that we're creating a problem on the books, because if the reason for the statement on the books is to protect against the water leakage and also to make it more visually appealing, if we're actually doing both of those, then I think that basically mitigates the standard.
I agree.
Let me ask you just a couple things. Number one, I hear what you're saying, Whitney, and I get that. Well, two things. First of all, that's the purpose of, just so everybody knows, that's the purpose of a variance, is it's not something that's worthy of changing your general guidelines, but there is something specific about this situation. That's the whole reason you ask for a variance, is that you don't change the permanent guidelines, because they're put there for a reason. But we have to acknowledge that every situation is not exactly the same. So if the next person came in, they didn't have all the other positive features to the structure, then it would be, in my opinion, be easy to say, well, no, we can't approve that because the reason we approved this one is because it had all this, yours doesn't have that. So I think we need to make sure we don't lose sight of the fact that there's a purpose for a variance as opposed to changing your permanent guidelines. The second thing I would ask to Whitney is, if you don't like this, what do you recommend? What's the next
Well, as I
option?
said, I do like this, and that's where the discussion went. I like this.
Well, what is the next best option? I mean, like, I know you spit out a few things, and I don't even understand 7 out of 8 of them.
I mean, and I don't know, because we haven't really ventured past this into the options. So I haven't been able to physically look at the different materials and other color variations that would flow well with this building, because our hope was that, or his hope was that we would be able to appeal it and get this taken care of. And if it didn't, then we were going to venture into looking at other materials. So
Okay, so my question to Ryan, then, as a professional architect, why are you recommending this as opposed to the next best option?
so we went ahead and looked at some options again. We got the staff report ahead of time, so we went ahead and threw, stone base down there. We looked at masonry on the, back half there. Ultimately, as designers, we feel like it's degradation to the design, the overall design.
Would it take away from the overall look of the building?
It's a fairly, core simple materials, the forms are kind of contemporary in nature, and then I think just kind of cluttering it up on that back end, really starts to take away from some of the simplistic moves we've used. And ultimately, this is another building that the owner has done. I know you all don't care about the brand, but this is on brand with the other building, which are those photos you see down there. So, they're pretty excited about what it looks like in their Wolf Chase location, as well as bringing that here. So again, they have a vision that they want to kind of replicate and emulate, and this meets it. And again, I'm going to speak on behalf of the DRB side. I don't think they're excited about the options of adding a stack stone base. In their comments of reducing the amount of stack stone we have on it, doesn't make counterintuitive to add more stack stone if we want less stack stone. So trying to defend, again, us reading between the lines, stopping fringe metal buildings and those type of aesthetics going in, and taking some caution and making, a better mousetrap in this situation where we've done some details that are going to help this. And ultimately, what I'm hoping to allow you all to see that this would be a new standard. Someone else will take metal down to the ground. We put some precautionary measures in place to alleviate those concerns.
I agree, I think they set the standard.
And I agree with what the mayor said. I don't want to look at reinventing the wheel and changing the requirements. I I would rather look at it on a case by case, because if not, I think we're going to dilute, the requirements for overall building
I
aesthetics.
think changing this, changing it just because we don't want to take it out of the ground, I think it changes the whole design of the building.
That's where I was stuck. I agree. I like to go on.
Is this an ordinance requirement?
It's a design, review manual requirement.
It's not an ordinance. Yeah, I don't know how much we have to actually even have to fix it. It's a design review manual.
Well, that's why we didn't take it to a formal variance. We just said we would appeal the planning commission's decision at this level,
So what-
because there wasn't a section to reference.
What you're doing, you're not granting a variance, you're just basically, for lack of better terminology, overruling the planning commission. You're saying, despite what they said, we as a board or the final
Right.
authority approve this as presented, if that's the way the board wants to go. And if there's any reasoning for why, I think just listen between the lines, you have the planning commission saying we don't want the stone, but then if you don't go with this right here, we can use the stone, so it's kind of a catch-22. And so I think that gives you the justification, if you're looking for one, to overrule the planning commission, and this is how the board wants to actually proceed.
So the planning commission had no action.
No, planning commission took action to require the masonry materials on the bottom to remain consistent. And like I said, I'm totally fine with an appeal and a decision that alters that, so long as I have something that I can show the next guy that has a valid argument behind it, like this is why this looks like this is why you either do it this way or you don't do it this way. That's what I need to defend the next building.
No, I agree with that. I think the project speaks for itself. We're talking about a health provider wanting to bring a service to the city. And I certainly don't want to chase them away or something like that.
Well, the other key thing, again, just trying to, in my mind, summarize what I'm hearing, is, again, when I ask the question, if this is not what you want to do, what do you want to do? And then when I ask that question, you tell me, well, we don't really want to do that either, because we don't like, there's too much stone or too.
Yeah, they wanted to take away the stone, but they needed the masonry material, which was gonna add in another material to the building,
Yeah.
which got a little busy. But they were doing their part and trying to remain consistent. And
Yeah.
that's how we explained it to them. Both of us explained it to them. Said, well, aesthetically it's this way, requirements are this way, so let's just take it to the board and see what.
Yeah, and I think that whatever this board of aldermen chooses to do is not being disrespectful to our review board, our planning commission,
Yeah.
because we have valued what they said and we agree with their concerns. However, ultimately, we're put into a situation to choose between two options. And, it's not been established that the alternate is a good move, so.
Right.
So that's, and I'll let the board, that's just what I'm hearing.
I think this solves those issues that we're having there. It brings up some certain things that we might need to look into, as well as keeping sure that we're happy. I like it.
Is the whole backside of the building, is it stacked stone?
So you're able to see, there's only two elevations up there, but the northwest elevation and then that's southwest elevation, that would be the same thing on the eastern side as well. I don't know, do we have the elevation up there?
That should be on.
Plan itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a
It
mirrored,
shows stone along the
it's just a mirrored copy on that, of the long side.
I would say probably
So
like
really only-
60%, it's really only about 60%. 60% is compliant. There's the accent portion.
So really just that end is.
That's correct.
It's only in.
Both ends, they're both ends.
No, it's just that one. So I mean, the building,
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve item number 2, including the staff recommendations except for the masonry type material for the backside of the building. Is that just the backside?
Let's just reference wainscot area, because that's gonna be your bottom, your knee
Should
wall
I say
area.
minus the first staff recommendation, but because there's some other, the wood cladding, I don't.
He's
Can you just
already
say
addressed that.
Consistent with Urban Arts recommendation.
Yes, everything else they have complied with. This was the one thing, so we can say we are making a motion to approve with the exception of the wainscot material being masonry and allowing for the
So moved.
what she said, yes.
So we have a motion by Alderman Payne. Second by Alderman Flores. Is there any other discussion on item 2? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hudson.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Hooker.
Yes.
Alderman Perez.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, our third item is for for a conditional use permit to allow for motor vehicle service and repair at 8580 Highway 51 North. This is an existing business, Cook Auto Sales. It is designated and authorized to be a used car rental or a used car establishment. There's a service center in the back, and the applicant is requesting to not only use that for motor vehicle repair, but also to put an accessory building on site to do paint. We understand that it is not open for the public, that it will be used only for the cars that he works on and sells on that site. It's compliant with so many other locations up and down that strip. One thing about this one is that since he does have a dealership, the number of cars on site will not be an issue with motor vehicle repair. That being said, Planning Commission voted unanimously in favor of it as submitted.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to approve item number 3 on the planning agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Kelly and a second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman
Yes.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Our final application is subdivision approval for a minor subdivision. This is going to be on east side of Old Airways Boulevard, south of Bailey Road. It's 3 acres, and the applicant is wanting to subdivide it into 2 lots, both 1.5 acres apiece. It's agriculturally zoned. It does have a 50-foot ingress egress that allows access to the southern lot, which keeps it legally compliant with accessibility. It does comply with the minor subdivision rules, and then it is zoned agricultural, and it is less than 3 lots. So staff and the planning commission have done comments and recommended unanimously to vote in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Whitney's number 4.
Second.
What that means is, we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher to approve item number 4 on the planning agenda, and a second by Alderman Payne. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is our mayor's report. A few things to update everyone about. All of you know that we had a very special thing happen in 2021. One of our local adults now, but grew up as a kid here. We all know that baseball has been a big tradition in the city of Southaven even before we were incorporated in 1980. Southaven is known not only around the state, but around the southeastern region and actually nationally as a baseball city. And that's something we should be proud of. And so we had one of our own, Austin Riley, grew up in Southaven, grew up playing baseball at Stone Grove Park since his first T-ball season. I think it was in 2003. 2003, he started playing T-ball at Stone Grove Park. Well, he went from playing T-ball at Stone Grove Park to the starting third baseman for the Atlanta Braves. This year, he was a first-round draft pick by the Atlanta Braves straight out of high school at DeSoto Central in 2015. He spent 4 years in the minor leagues, and then in 2019 he was called up to the big leagues, and had some decent times. But in 2021 had what's called a coming out into your own season in the big leagues. He hit 303 with 33 home runs and I believe 107 RBIs. So anyone that doesn't understand baseball, those are some big time numbers. Those are MVP type numbers, and if you want to reach out for a loan from Austin in upcoming years, he's going to have plenty of money. So, but anyway, we're very proud of him. The people of the city are very proud of him. It's a big deal. We have some other people that have gone into professional sports from our city and have had some success. He's not the first one. In multiple sports, not just baseball. We have a gentleman that plays in the NBA. We've had some others that have gone on. Pro golf, things like that, other baseball players throughout the city that have played professionally. But to have the kind of season that he had, and then in the same year, the Braves win the World Series, it's a very unusual event. And so anyway, we're very proud of that. And so for that reason, I have proclaimed this Friday, December 10, as Austin Riley Day in the city of Southaven. I know I'm going to kind of duplicate what I just said, but I'd like to read the entire proclamation that gives just honors Austin Riley. So Michael Austin Riley was born April 2nd, 1997 to Mike and Elisa Riley. And when he was just 6 years old, he began playing t-ball at Snowgrove Park and began playing competitively at the age of 10. And whereas he attended DeSoto Central High School where he played baseball, leading the Jaguars to a Mississippi High School 6A state championship in 2015, and was named Mississippi's Gatorade Player of the Year his junior year in 2014. And whereas he holds the DeSoto Central records for most career RBIs, hits, home runs, pitching wins, and strikeouts. His number 13 jersey was retired this year on February 6, 2021. And whereas Riley was drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the first round with the 41st overall selection in the 2015 MLB draft, and whereas he was named by Baseball America as the best pure hitter, best power hitter, best athlete, and having the best pro debut among the Braves' 2015 draft class. And whereas on November 3rd, 2018, Austin married Anna Harrington, who also attended DeSoto Central High School, and they have made their home together in Mississippi. And whereas on May 15, 2019, Riley was called up to the Atlanta Braves, entering the season ranked by Baseball America as the #1 prospect in Atlanta's organization, and was named Rookie of the Month. And whereas he finished the 2021 regular season hitting .303 with 33 home runs and 107 RBIs, and also made a great defensive showing consistently as the Braves' everyday third baseman. And whereas Austin was instrumental, playing an integral role in the Braves' 4-2 series victory over the Houston Astros, capturing their first World Series title since their heyday in the 1990s and 1995. Now therefore I dare Musselwhite, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Southaven, Mississippi, hereby proclaim Friday, December 10, 2021 as Austin Riley Day, as we honor him in our city for his tremendous success and accomplishments from the elected officials of the City of Southaven, Mississippi. So this Friday, there will be a public appearance by Austin. We've talked to his agent in Austin, and Austin does want to be in the City of Southaven Friday. We understand he's appreciative of this honor. So from 1 to 2 p.m., Austin will be at the Bank Plus Sports Center at Snowgrove Park. And so he'll be there from 1 to 2. There will be other items to honor him. Digital boards around the city will have a photo of Austin. There will be banners posted in the area of Snowgrove Park. And then after the event is over, we plan to take those banners and permanently install them in the Bank Plus Sports Center. So for all the kids that are just like Austin, they're playing t-ball, they go there and they see the guy that played for the World Series champion. There's no better motivator for young kids than to see someone who is just like them, to reach this type of success. So it's a very special day. We congratulate Austin on an incredible year. Next thing on Mayor's report, I want to just brief everyone. Our department heads and I have discussed this pretty extensively. A few years ago, as I continue to read the statistics of the opioid crisis in our country, and specifically the overabundance of fentanyl in the United States, from the last year, from 2021, about this time last year to this time this year, the United States topped 100,000 drug overdose deaths for the first time in history. For the first time in history, drug overdose deaths exceed auto accident deaths. And locally, we've had many parents that have reached out to me over the last 5 years expressing concern on what we're doing about this problem, the addiction problem in our city. A lot of people don't know that our paramedics, our EMS, respond to overdose events almost daily in this city. Many of those now are police officers and our EMS personnel administer Narcan, which is an emergency treatment to save the life of people who have overdosed on heroin. And so for that reason, I started asking questions, when the moms, when they were reaching out. So I started talking to Chief Scallions about this, and the thing that I never had peace about is we know that a lot of people that have an addiction to heroin, it doesn't end. Just like the average person would think, well, if the EMS had to be called to save your life, to most people, that would be a wake-up call. They would say, wow, I got a problem, it's time for me to do something different. And most of these people have never been addicted to heroin or drugs, but from listening to citizens and listening to people who have, the problem is not that they don't realize that they have a serious problem. The problem is that the drugs have a grip on their physical body. And even though they know that they're in danger, they're not able physically to make a change and to get help on their own. So rather than what we see in our city, there are times when our police and our EMS go to the same person's home multiple times. They administer Narcan, and then they're called back again, and the same person is deceased. So a lot of times, it's not if they're going to die, it's when. And so instead of us, sitting here feeling helpless, like what can we do to save the lives of people in Southaven that are dangerously addicted to heroin and other drugs? We've been brainstorming for a few years now, and we have a gentleman in our city that has come forward, and we've had extensive discussions with him. It's a person named Stacy Dodd, and he's the regional ambassador for Bratava Health. And Stacy Dodd is a former drug addict that has had a major life change. He'll tell you that he has been clean from drugs for 23 years. And he's a gentleman that, I know he wouldn't mind me saying this, because his message and his mission is to keep people from experiencing the bad things that he experienced. And his job, he wants to save lives. He feels like that's his mission. So he's been clean for 23 years. He wants to tell his story. He knows what these people are going through, and he wants to help them. So what we've done, we've partnered with him. We brought him in to all of our fire stations to meet all of our personnel. He's even offered to give his cell number to anyone on the spot at any time, 24 hours a day, when our personnel come in contact with someone who's dangerously addicted. And what he does at that time is, if they're willing, if they want help, he's reaching out his hand and he's willing to help them. And he will respond to them, he will counsel them, he will try to help them. There's also some funding options that are available at Bratava for those people who want to get help but may not be financially able, or family members that know they have a loved one or a friend that is in danger. There are some funding options to help them financially with that. So we just want to be the liaison between not doing anything when we know somebody's got a problem, to send them in a direction of someone who may can save their life. So long way to tell you, we have now brought Stacy Dodd in. He's created a little handout, something that's real simple for all of our personnel. When they come into contact with these people, they can leave this contact information with them, and hopefully that will save their life. Our police department is going to do the same thing. He's going to come into to the roll calls to meet them, to answer questions, and but I just think it's an awesome thing, that we're not sitting back again watching people die. We're doing all we can to save their life. And so I commend Stacy Dodd, and we look forward to what he's going to be able to accomplish. The last thing I have is just to update everyone on the infrastructure, potential infrastructure funding that's coming to the state of Mississippi. I know that the federal government passed an infrastructure bill. There's going to be a significant sum of money that goes to every state. Mississippi will receive a large amount of money. There's a separate pool of money for ARPA, the rescue funds, that are also come, as y'all know, with guidelines on what you can spend it for. But the DeSoto County and all the cities have come together. We're trying to put together a plan that we can submit to the state legislature to ask for some help, things that we need that qualify for both pools of money. Obviously, DeSoto County is one of the biggest and most economically thriving counties in Mississippi. We send a large amount of revenue to the state of Mississippi. With growth comes other challenges. We have some transportation challenges. We have a few sewer issues that qualify for ARPA funding help. And so we have spoken and put together a list. Actually, there's going to be another meeting tomorrow for all the cities to come together and try to, find common goals to keep our ask simple. But we're going to be asking the state of Mississippi for a significant amount of money to solve problems that we can't solve on our own. Specifically in Southaven, what I've submitted as our priorities, and again, that's why I'm bringing it up tonight, I want to make sure I'm not inappropriately speaking on your behalf, but my plan was to not get into the small things that we can handle ourselves. Like, this is a situation where it's a very unusual situation where there's a very large amount of money that's come to Mississippi. Many times when we've gone to MDOT in the state of Mississippi and asked for help, they've agreed with our assessment of the need. Objectively, the traffic statistics, they justify what we're asking for. However, and a lot of these have been designed now that sometimes they even have right-of-way purchase, but when it gets to construction, they say we have no money. There's no money. So what is significant about this is that has now changed. There is money that's available, and so we feel like it's our time now to ask for some major projects. So the biggest number one, as far as objective traffic counts, the biggest need in DeSoto County is the widening of I-55. And that's where I-55 bottlenecks south of Goodman Road. It goes from 10 lanes down to 4. Don't have to tell anyone that's ever driven to DeSoto County, if you want to go check it out, you go stand on the Goodman Road Bridge and look south at 4:30 on any afternoon, you'll see traffic come to a stop. It's a major problem. It's not just an event problem at the Lander Center. It's a major, major traffic problem. Even though we've had tremendous growth and great things happen economically, we still have those businesses that will not come here, and they love that area. That's a key area, Church and 55 and 269 and all that. But their first question to me is, what's the status of the widening of the interstate? Because before they invest a lot of money here, they want to know that the infrastructure is going to support their business, and so it's that important. So that's the number one thing that I've recommended on behalf of the city. And again, it's not just a city thing. It affects all of DeSoto County, all of North Mississippi, really. The second thing is kind of related to the first one. Since I-55 has not been widened, now there's so much traffic on Highway 51. Now we've almost come to an emergency situation on 51 with all the industrial development. It's not wide enough. It can't handle all the traffic that's going to be there, so we're asking for a widening of Highway 51. The other thing, everyone in here is familiar with the conflict and the lawsuit between the City of Memphis and the Horn Lake Creek Interceptor Sewer District. For those that don't know, the district is a separate entity that had a 1974 agreement with the City of Memphis for all of their users, which involved a lot of the older parts of Southaven and most of Horn Lake. The sewer actually is treated at a South Memphis treatment facility. So a lot of the sewer users since 1974, the Southaven Horn Lake sewage has been gravity flown down to South Memphis, and it has been treated there since 1974. Well, a couple of years, or 3 years ago, the City of Memphis, out of the blue, made the statement that they would be cutting off the Horn Lake Creek Interceptor Sewer District from using that facility, and they wanted to see an immediate plan to get off of that. The lawsuit is still pending. The district disagrees with the City of Memphis. They felt like that South Treatment Facility received federal funding in 1974. In order for them to qualify for that federal funding, they had to be able to show the federal government that the number of users was not just Memphis, but it was also part of North Mississippi. So they feel like it was a bilateral contract that should not be able to be terminated by one party. So anyway, we'll let the attorneys hash that out. Bottom line, what that means is Memphis has already put us on notice that they don't like us anymore. They don't want us sending sewer there. They want us to find our own solution. Again, to try to summarize this, I've been to Washington, D.C., talked to our senators and congressmen about this issue. They reached out to EPA on our behalf, and strangely enough, EPA really didn't come to our defense, which we thought they were. So it leads us to the bottom line recommendation that eventually we're going to have to do something different. And what that means is money. And, so we have some options in DeSoto County where the sewage would be pumped to the DeSoto County Regional Authority facility in North Mississippi, or possibly, if they choose not to agree to that, maybe add another facility in North Mississippi. With that comes an extremely large price tag. It's estimated at $230 million. So that, with the ARPA money, the city is going to be asking or advocating that the county as a whole ask for help with that. And it would be a co-op kind of thing where we use some of our local ARPA money and then the state matches some of that. to get us, like halfway there, or something like that, and then the CRUA or the district would then fund the rest of the money with bonding. What that means to not just Southaven Horn Lake, it means to everybody in DeSoto County that uses the CRUA now that there could be some cost changes. So it's not just a Southaven Horn Lake issue, it is a total DeSoto County issue. We've been talking about that a lot, having a meeting tomorrow about it with everybody involved. But just wanted to update you that those three things I've told you about are the big things. They're the things that problems that we cannot solve on our own. So we're going to be asking for transportation money from the state of Mississippi and ARPA money from both local, county, and state to help us with those problems. So I didn't get into the details. Obviously, with all that we have going on in Southaven, we have a lot of infrastructure things, but a lot of those we can resolve on our own. Some of them will be using other funding sources like MPO and other drainage projects can be done by other federal funding mechanisms. But I just want to open up that and make sure I'm not speaking appropriate for any of you. Does everyone understand why we view those as the three biggies that we can't solve on our own? Any input about that or anything like that? Just to make sure I'm speaking properly for all of you. The Church Road interchange is a part of the widening project, so that's a great question. I failed to get into detail. The widening project has already been designed by MDOT, and it's in three different phases. It's from Goodman Road to Church Road, which would include a reworking of the Church Road interchange, also widening Church Road, which would help with the congestion right there. It will be adding one loop to take out a left turn, which they say, Mr. Danny Cordell and I've talked about this a lot, they say that we're good for 30 years with that design. So it's been designed, the second leg of it is from Church Road South to 269. It also includes a new interchange at Star Landing Road. And then the third leg of that is going from 269, widening it to Hernando, and then also reworking the Commerce Street, widening their Commerce Street under the interchange and reworking their interchange, which obviously anybody who's been there knows how tight it is and what the problem is for Hernando. So again, that's a benefit for all of DeSoto County, not just Southaven. I didn't tell you the price tag on that is $368 million. That's all. But anyway, just wanted to mainly just brief you and like I said, make sure that if y'all have any other input, I still believe it's best for us that we not get in the weeds with this, that we just look at the big stuff, the small things we can handle on our own. But since this is a very unusual time with this amount of money coming from the federal government, I thought it was time to ask for the big stuff. Okay, that's all that I have on the mayor's report. Are there any other questions about anything I've talked about? Hearing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our personnel docket.
Mr. Mayor, move we approve the personnel docket as presented on this date.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our city attorney's legal update.
There's a couple quick items. First, just need to note the minutes, purchase of, it's a minor issue we have to have for minutes, purchase of baseballs for the Stone Grove Park under 3171E. This is going to be for resale. We don't have to get quotes on those, so just has to be noted in our minutes for perfect game. Next, we approve for an alcohol variance for December 5th, for a party on December 15th at Southern House. Which is your policy. I need a motion there for approval of that.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Payne. Discussion.
Work party for a construction company on this Christmas party. Yeah, Christmas work party, I'm sorry. Yeah, they take care of the food court and to their home.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries.
And lastly, just previously you approved the contract for the canopy construction for the utility department. That contract will be entered into the minutes tonight. Nothing to approve other than just knowing that will be entered into the minutes. That's all I have.
Okay, next on the agenda is our utility bill adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the utility bill leak adjustment docket as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Tellers.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda are two claims dockets. Is there a motion to approve docket one?
Mr. Mayor, first, I move that we remove docket number 2 from the agenda.
Okay, so Alderman Payne makes a motion that we remove, that we skip one for right now and remove docket 2. And then Alderman Gallagher seconds that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve claims docket number 1 in the amount of $4,875,406.80, including demand checks.
Second.
Okay, on docket one, we have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Jerome.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is the purpose of determining the need for executive sessions. We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Wheeler. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is litigation and potential claims against the city with Southaven Police Department, utilities, and infrastructure. And then personnel that affects more than just one department. It really affects all, so I call that citywide personnel. And then economic development within the city. Is there a motion to declare executive session?
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Hoots, second by Alderman Jerome. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.
This is where y'all get. Yep.